Hey there! Waiting for ZA and seeing all the art of new megas people wish for brings me back to that era where megas were everywhere and they were treated as if they just remain a staple of the series forever, making it into every new game. That obviously didn't happen, but ZA giving megas new attention and giving us new megas brings me back to that mega era and makes me too want to scratch that itch again and draw some megas. So for our first mega, I chose Starmie. And I did this before all the trailers hinted heavily towards Lita having a mega Starmie. But that's not really a very impressive prediction. Starmie is one of the last 17 remaining Gen 1 Pokemon without any cross-gen additions to it. And that number goes down to only 15 if you count the new megas already revealed for ZA. But now let's show you what I came up with. This is Mega Starmie. I made it into a whirlpool. Something I enjoy about Megas, especially the new ones, is how they focus on one aspect of the Pokemon's lore and push it to the max. That's Victorable's Sweet Scent or Malamar's Mind Control, for example. And here's the fact that both Staryu and Starmie just love to spin around. So you can see how I came up with whirlpools and hurricanes from that, to amplify that aspect. When it's a water type we're talking about here. This allowed me to emphasize a pre-existing part of Starmie creatively without adding a totally new element, which Megas don't really do, or having to settle solely on one of the frankly quite few design elements Starmie already has, its limbs, the golden ring, and jewel. But as you can see, I added to those aspects too. I gave it another star at the bottom of the tornado and two more gold ones on the sides to act as some kind of hands, or even shurikens, to make it feel less toppled down and defenseless or awkward in this position. After all, it's fast enough to daze opponents together with its psychic abilities, and will slice with its gold star projectiles. Catch them in a furious whirlpool, of course, too. And did I mention its staggering crown? I'm actually very excited to see what Game Freak came up with for Mega Starmie. If they go a safer route than I, or surprise us with something completely different. Surprising designs are the ones I love the most, because they remind me of why I look up to Pokemon's designers in the first place, and they satisfy that voice in my head saying, a fan could have done this better. But then I remind myself that I'm just as much of a Pokemon fan as I am of Fakemon, and that Pokemon just opens the door for so much creativity. Pokemon is a giant world. Of course not every Pokemon can fit into a Nintendo game, but they can fit into that world, and on the internet. Now let's shift our focus to the second mega I drew for today. Not a Gen 1 Pokemon, but instead the opposite, a Gen 9 Pokemon. We still haven't seen any megas for post-Gen 6 Pokemon, like we saw Hisuian forms for post-Gen 4 Pokemon. But I would think it'd be pretty exciting, and I'm not sticking to only ZA for these megas. Again, even if there aren't any Mega Gen 9 Pokemon in that game, the world of Pokemon is expansive. There's a Mega Bellibolt out there somewhere. And that's what we're doing. Mega Bellibolt. This must have been the quickest I've fully designed and rendered a Pokemon. I knew exactly what I was going for. I had the complete image in my head already when I started drawing. So much so that what you're seeing is technically my first sketch, because I started with the line art. Now, that's not too difficult with how thick my line art is. It's also not inherently a good thing. But anyways, the point is I basically had a higher power bestow me with a vision of Mega Bellibolt. This time, the lore aspect I emphasized was Bellibolt's ability to wiggle up and down, squishing its body together and expanding it again quickly enough for its belly button dynamo to produce electricity. So I drew it more elongated and made the orange pattern on its bottom half somewhat resemble a smear frame. It gets its new, more intimidating eyes from pointier shapes of light bulbs, and those eyes light up just like light bulbs and regular Bellibolt's eyes too when discharging electricity. And those eyebrows, as well as its mustache and the smear frame pattern too actually, resemble coiling light bulb filaments. Yeah, this is the second time I've shown off a light bulb filament inspired Pokemon on this channel. They're just such a cool visual. I'm surprised we've seen no official electric type Pokemon using that shape before. Even though it wasn't on purpose, it also reminds me of that beta Politoed. So I guess Bellibolt finally succeeded in looking somewhat like a frog. Too bad it's only a beta frog though. I also played into the undeniable similarities Bellibolt holds to a big avocado, so I gave it the colors of a more overripe avocado skin. Another thing Mega Designs often do is show off the effects of gaining such huge amounts of energy that Mega Evolution provides, like Victory Bell having to wrap its vine around its neck not to overflow or Bellibolt overdoing the ripening process a bit. Megas also bring back features of former evolutionary stages. It's not just Dragonite, Ampharos and others did it too. And for Bellibolt, I brought back the more frog-like shape of the dark part of Tadpole, now closely resembling a frog's vocal sac too. Man, it's just great seeing Mega Pokemon coming back. I remember when Megas were everywhere, in every spin-off game, even in Smash, and everyone was coming up with possible new ones too. Back then, Mega Evolution felt like just a new addition to how Pokemon works. Nowadays, we know that that's not entirely true, because obviously this feature hasn't made it into every game since, but so have a lot of other Pokemon too. Is Simisear now not part of Pokemon anymore because it hasn't been in a game since X and Y? Well, even though some would definitely enjoy that reality, no. So even after ZA and this mega renaissance, megas are here to stay. And matter of fact, they never left. Bye. And subscribe for a part 2 for more megas and more Fakemon videos in general.